I'll start turning it right away. What does it give us in practice? In this position, we see widely, but relatively close. No, not like that, demon. Once again, close, let's say. No, relatively far or close. We see far, but with not far close. Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will do a small video review of the menu, that menu which you see in the Patriot 2 thermal monoculars as a green strip at the top of the screen. We will try to explain what each image means. To protect yourself and others, anything can happen. Some people did not see this review, while others did. The technical passports for our thermal monocular include a visual representation of this menu and an explanation of each item in the menu. However, as is known, video instructions are perceived better. For this reason, we are making this video review. Where do we start our work? First of all, we adjust the diopter setting. Each person adjusts it for themselves. The main thing is that you can clearly see what is written in this green line. In our case, I also turned on the video recording so that when I comment and explain what this menu looks like, you can simultaneously look at the thermal imager and understand what is being discussed. So, let's start from left to right, just as we write and read. In the first Bose picture, the first frame, we see the letters E and the numbers and the letter H and the numbers. These are the GPS coordinates, meaning the coordinates of the current location of the thermal monocular, as well as yours accordingly. The next frame we have is quite large, and it has many markings on it. Let's break it down. 1.0x is nothing more than the digital zoom factor. If we change the distance to the target, adjusting the zoom, it will change to other indicators. Note that I will demonstrate this as an example. We zoom in on the house and see 2.9. As some might call it, we turn back. Return to the previous position. This is nothing other than digital zoom. Next, we see the number 50 and a drawn lens. This is nothing other than the diameter of the lens. The number 50 indicates that we have the Pro L50 monocular. And the drawn lens signifies that this is the lens diameter. Therefore, we have a thermal monocular with a lens diameter of 50. You may have 35, 25, or 19, meaning the lens diameter you will have will be indicated next to the lens, written beside the lens. The next image we see is a large Ukrainian letter N, or the English letter H, crossed diagonally. This is nothing more than an artificial rangefinder function that will attempt to measure the distance to an object. In our case, when it is crossed out, we do not need it. It is turned off. Conversely, when there is no diagonal line, it is turned on. Instead of, let's say, an artificial intelligence rangefinder, we opted for a mechanical rangefinder. Here's what it looks like. You can see the image. On the left side, there is a drawing of a person, and on the right, wild animals and so on. Below them, the measurement is displayed. That is, our monoculars have two rangefinder functions: the rangefinder reticle and artificial intelligence. In our case, this mark is not crossed out, meaning it is operational and activated. Otherwise, when it is crossed out, it is disabled. The next icon that reminds us of a triangle inverted with the point down. Nothing more than a hotspot. What is it? This is when the thermal monocular provides a Wi-Fi access point. In the next image, you see a drawn battery showing 93%. This is nothing other than the battery charge level. In our case, the battery charge level is 93%. Next are the clock indicators. In our case, it is 1411. I did not set it specifically for this video recording. But when you go into the menu, there are clock settings. You can adjust them and it will show you the current time. The next image shows 27.1 degrees Celsius. Well, you already understood that, guessed it. This is a thermometer. That is, in our case, the thermal monocular is mounted on a tripod. It has no contact with heat, anything hot, or hands. It shows the temperature in the external environment. In fact, it is approximately 27 degrees Celsius. The next value in the thermal monocular is the letter H on 72.0. This is nothing other than the altitude above sea level. In our case, it is 172 meters. When you change different locations, it will change accordingly for you. Our next indicator is the letter A, 2.0 degrees. This is nothing other than the azimuth, and it shows the angle of deviation from the northern direction. Next, note that on the green central bar we have two arrows with the letter N in English between them, as well as various indicators of the cardinal directions. As I slightly rotate it, you can see how it changes. Look, below the central strip, we see nothing other than a compass. I just intentionally released the monocular to demonstrate how the compass moves, how its indicators change, and accordingly, how the azimuth will change. Note that the azimuth has started to change and the compass is also changing smoothly. We took it in another direction, turned around. Remember, we were looking at that building and we had 2 degrees. We changed, let's go. Both the compass and the azimuth are changing. We specifically changed the location to show you the much needed and practical function of our thermal monoculars, which is the dual focus. We set the thermal monocular to video recording mode. I will simultaneously comment on what I'm doing. In this way, you will visually see how the dual focus helps in practice. Please note that the dual focus feature is only present in the Pro L50 monoculars. In other words, the very word Pro indicates that the function of this dual focus is already present. Visually, it is identified by the presence of 2 lenses and 2 adjustments. The first lens is for focus adjustment, which affects the clarity of the image. The other lens is the zoom lens, or as we say, it is essentially the dual focus lens. As it looks in practice, I will now demonstrate it to you. The monocular is in video recording mode. I adjusted it so that we see those 2 buildings exactly under the edge. That is, the edge of the forest and the edge of the 2 buildings converge. The edge of the monocular also aligns with the edges of these 2 buildings. You will see this clearly in the thermal monocular. Well, I will change a few palettes as an example so that you understand that the monocular is relatively fixed. I will switch to my favorite palette of yellow hot. Note the cut of the forest and buildings. On the right side, we can hardly see anything. By turning the focus of this literally by 15 to 20 degrees, we increase the angle of the image. As a result, we have another piece of forest in front of the houses, with a house on the left and partially buildings on the right. Thus, an expansion of the focal length occurred. When turning back in the opposite direction, we see again the picture that was there before. The settings of the thermal monocular are adjusted according to the outline of the buildings. The forest is in line with the outline of the buildings, and on the right and left we do not see any structures. I will show it again. We return. This dual focus setting, the field of view expands, and we see to the right, to the left, and in front of us. How can you determine which lens and focus you are currently in? Note that you will find this menu at the top. The GPS coordinates, starting magnification, and the number 25 or 50 were provided, and there is a drawing of a lens. Here it tells you which lens and focal distance you are currently at. What does double focus give us in practice? In our case, with a 25 lens, that is, with a smaller lens, we see with a wide field of view. We capture the entire area of the forest, the buildings on the right, the left, and all the way to the horizon line. When turning to the lens 50, Our field of view, of course, becomes very narrow. We see narrowly but very far. We see these buildings much closer. We see what is happening behind the buildings, but we do not see what is happening to the right or left, and we can no longer see the edge of the forest. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that only in our monoculars from the company NVECTECH, specifically the Patriot 2 series, ordered by the bravest warriors in the world, are these functions integrated. These include a compass, GPS, azimuth, and altitude above sea level. We won't fish for the reason this was ordered, but you all probably have a good idea, and God willing, may it serve the guys faithfully. Today we specifically chose a day that is not too hot, and we changed the location on purpose, and you will probably be laughing now. My voice has specifically gone hoarse today, but we will do everything to bring our victory closer. Glory to Ukraine, gentlemen. The next element you see means the rangefinder is on. Off. Not like that. It is not crossed out. And the charge is not like that, damn it.